Venture X card from Capital One gives you premium travel benefits, perfect for seeing Taylor Swift the Eras Tour. Presented by Capital One. Ooh, I do love her. Earn 5 times miles on flights and 10 times miles on hotels through Capital One Travel.
Enjoy your stay in Suite 13.
Whoa, 13? That's Taylor's lucky number. The Venture X card from Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Hi, folks. Welcome to another episode of Film Study. This is Ken McKusick. Today, we continue our series of That One Play, talking about a very cool one, the 2006 win at Tennessee, and specifically Trevor Pryce's blocked field goal that won the game with about 40 seconds remaining. Here to talk with me about it is Dan Ibrahimi. Dan, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Ken. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be back.
All right, yeah, great to have you. You had a good first episode too, and always nice to see people come back for a second one. So I want this to be kind of from your perspective. So tell us a little bit about the build up to this game and where the Ravens were at this point, and what they needed to get done at Tennessee.
So obviously, the buildup for this game was mainly that it was a homecoming for Steve McNair, along with Derek Mason and Samari Rolle. The Ravens were 6-2 entering this game, with the Titans being a reverse 2-6. And you started to just get a feeling. This was 2 weeks after that Saints game that was so special, and this was just kind of the game that sort of convinced me at the time, at least, that this team actually may be able to advance and get a first round bye.
So the 6-2, they had yet to play the Steelers. They had a big win over the Bengals, who were some of the in division competition for them. They beat the Bengals the week before. One of the things they talked about, and you mentioned the McNair and Rolle and Mason, but McNair said, this is a business trip. It's not a family reunion. It's one of the overriding themes of this game. And so they went back and they faced a Vince Young led Titans team who led them 26-7 in the second quarter.
Yeah, absolutely. And, look, it was the most yards in a game McNair threw for as a Raven. It was actually the third highest total of his career. And just a really kind of up and down performance from him. His second pass attempt of the game was a 65-yard touchdown strike to Mark Clayton. Then he pulled a little bit of a Dan Orlovsky and sort of voluntarily walked out of the back of the end zone for a safety. And then he threw 2 interceptions to the same guy on the Titans. So a really up and down performance from them, but it was great that the winning touchdown pass was from McNair to Derek Mason.
Yeah, wide open, kind of a busted play. We'll hit that on another show potentially. Obviously, the other big comeback play, really the play that started the comeback, and I thought was kind of pivotal for the Ravens, was the Ovi Mihaly 30-yard touchdown. Kind of a late release, little dump off pass, and Mihaly just would not be tackled, and they had chances at him. I think it might have been Bullock missed him, but 30-yard touchdown that really started that comeback and really started Mihaly on what would be a Pro Bowl career. So Mihaly was in his last year with the Ravens, got picked up by the Falcons, played there for several years, but got a big contract with the Falcons immediately after. But this play was really the first play of any significance he'd been involved in. And then he I think he ended up with 20 or 22 catches down the stretch in about the final 8 or 9 games. So very impressive start to the offensive career of Ovi Mihaly. And he went down to Atlanta. I think he's stayed there and become a radio personality and done some other things. But he definitely, I wonder, one time recently, I just had noted that Kyle Juszczyk had a long catch, and it was the longest by a fullback in Ravens history. And the only one of 30 yards previously was this one to Mihaly. And he commented back on that. So anyway, I thought that was kind of a cool thing. And Ovi had his moment. The Ravens got back in the game 26-17 at halftime. One of the third quarter, still trailing. Do you want to take us up to the kind of the back and forth up to the final play we're talking about?
Absolutely. That sounds great. So as you mentioned, the Ravens did find themselves down 26-7 in the second quarter, allowing 23 straight first half points, 16 points off turnovers for the Titans. So They were down big at one point. I believe this was possibly the biggest comeback in team history at the time.
Yes.
It was. So they were definitely down badly at one point. They also got bailed out on a Mike Anderson fumble, which was actually challenged by Jeff Fisher and not overturned. Again, this was such a weird game with so many back and forths and so many penalties. Despite Jeff Fisher losing that challenge because of a Jonathan Ogden personal foul, the Ravens still found themselves at 3rd and 35 after that. And again, that was in the third quarter. So they were forced to punt after understandably not converting the 3rd and 35. But after the McNair to Mason touchdown, which I believe was just under 4 minutes left in the game, the Ravens defense didn't force a 3 and out, but they held the Titans to just 4 plays. I think it was like 13 yards total on the ensuing drive. And then the Ravens offense actually was forced to punt again, due in part to an intentional grounding penalty on McNair. So that was when the Titans offense then somehow got that second shot, despite, all of this happening with basically 3.5 minutes left in the game. So at that point, Vince Young got the ball back. I think it was an 18 or a 17-yard strike on the first play of that drive. Then I think it was an incomplete pass, and then he ran it for 17 yards down to the Ravens' 31-yard line, and I believe he got hurt.
He was hurt on that play. Yes, just watched it.
Right. So then Kerry Collins comes in, but he doesn't attempt a pass, which could have proved pretty huge for the outcome of this game. The Ravens still had 3 timeouts remaining, and they started using them after that play. So Kerry Collins comes in, hands it off to Travis Henry 3 straight times for a total of 7 yards on those 3 plays. And then, it's a 43-yard field goal for Rob Baronis. I'm not sure how his year as a whole was, but this game was certainly one to forget in his career.
Yeah, he missed from 41, then got blocked here from 42. Baronis is only a second-year kicker at this point. And so Ravens fans will remember Aldo Greco is one of the favorite Tennessee kickers in Ravens history. He not only did he miss all the kicks in the playoff game, that he missed 4 out of 5 actually in that game. One of them, he got a second chance by penalty. So he really only shows up as missing 3 out of 4, but one was also blocked for the game deciding 90-yard touchdown return. And then in the regular season, a lot of people don't remember this. McNair had a very similar run to what Young did to set up this touchdown. Got him into field goal range in the last 40 seconds or so with the Ravens leading by 1. Very similar game, 24-23 then. And Del Greco missed a kick then as well to lose that game.
Surgeons keep our hearts beating. They do the amazing, help save lives, and so can you. Your CSL plasma donation can help create 24 critical life-saving medicines that can give Grandpa the chance for his heart to swell when he meets his new grandson, or give a bride the chance for her heart to skip a beat on her wedding day. Every plasma donation helps more than you know. Do the amazing. Help save lives. Donate today at your local CSL Plasma Center and be rewarded for your generosity.
So the Titans kickers over the years have done the Ravens a lot of favors, with the exception of Anderson, who had the big kick in the 2003 playoff game.
Absolutely. And Ken, was Rob Baronis the kicker for that 2008 playoff game as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
So he missed a kick from long range in that game too, like a 51 or something that was kind of key.
Absolutely. And Stover played very well in that game as well as this one. And Ken, Baronis actually he missed a 38-yarder in this game as well, but it was nullified on an offside penalty on McAllister. So this, if he had a worse game in his career, I'm not sure what it was, but this was a rough one for sure. But so after Vince Young got hurt, those 3 successive runs by Travis Henry, sandwiched by 3 Ravens timeouts, the Ravens were actually setting up to get the ball back had Baronis made it. they probably would have gotten it back with approximately 35 seconds on the clock. But that there was no need for that. The 43-yard field goal attempt was blocked by Trevor Pryce. He and Adalius Thomas, I believe you mentioned earlier, burst through that C gap, and boy, did they get through. They got through, and it seemed like by the time the holder got the snap, both of them were through, and Pryce blocked it. All 6'5" of him. This was one of the best seasons of his career, even being on the back half of it. So that was an exclamation point. I believe he got a Defensive Player of the Year vote that year. So that was just a great exclamation point on one of my favorite Ravens regular season wins ever.
Fantastic year there by Trevor Pryce, and that the move to get through. It really is unusual that you see that kind of a jailbreak anywhere that close to over center, and this was just the tackle in this case looked inside, then he looked outside. By the time he looked outside again, it was Trevor Pryce was already through him. There was no stopping him. But Adalius Thomas is also through the same gap. I mean, their biggest competition for getting to the kick was each other in terms of like being in the way. And, we mentioned a little bit in the production meeting that it kind of looks like Adalius Thomas is on the outside, and it's easy to get confused by these guys. They're both huge men, obviously, both two of the tallest Ravens, and they're both breaking through the same point. And it's very hard on the recording that I have to see at from fairly long distance, which one is which. 90 and 96 look a lot like, there's a lot of similarities there. Anyway, they both broke through. Pryce is sprawling because he's almost tripping over Thomas to get to the kick, gets his hand up, ball rolls dead. Actually, the Titans touched it first, which makes it, as with a punt, a ball that the return team can touch it. And then I think Bart Scott might have picked it up, and then the ball was fumbled again, and the Titans picked it up. So they thought they had it, but Bart Scott knew what the rules was. He was basically, I touched it after he touched it. It's not a problem. And it wasn't. So Ravens knelt and they won the game.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that was a really special game. Had the quintessential Ed Reed interception, and I don't even know what to call it, but there was a lateral at the end of the play, but he was pushed back about 12 yards. So that was pretty wild. And Ken, if I could, I did want to bring up the rest of the season for both of these teams, because it was pretty interesting, actually. The Titans loss in this game got them to 2-7, but after that, they actually only lost once more for the rest of the year. And I believe their next 3 games actually featured wins over the Colts, who would win the Super Bowl that year, as well as additional playoff teams in the Eagles and Giants. So they really turned it on after this game. Their only loss for the remainder of the season was in Week 17 to the New England Patriots, who were just kind of getting hot at that point as well. So that got Vince Young the Rookie of the Year, and at the time watching this game, I remember wondering just what the heck the Ravens were doing, allowing a 1-7, 2-6, team to go up by 19 points on them in the second quarter. But it turned out that Titans team was pretty good with the Offensive Rookie of the Year, Vince Young, and in turn the Ravens were too, only losing one more game for the rest of that year at Cincinnati, with every win coming by more than one possession. So this was a really special game for sure.
Yeah, great team. And, people will look at this 2006 season and say, the Colts game is, I think, for Ravens fans, one of the most frustrating in team history. And I don't even know how to relatively rank it against the Lamar loss to the Titans in the first round in 2019. But they're right there, 1-2, in terms
Agreed.
of the worst games in Ravens history, the most frustrating defeats. So not a good end for this team. And obviously, Steve McNair, despite the success in this season, did not hang around. And Kyle Bowler had a pretty good year in relief, and this year got another chance as the starter. A guy had multiple lives to get a chance in 2007 again. And then the Ravens really had to move on into the Joe Flacco era after that. 2007 was a nightmare in many ways.
Absolutely. It absolutely was. And about that Colts game, I listened to your That One Play podcast about it, and it was excellent. It really did a great job of kind of taking me back to that game. I actually watched it in full on YouTube afterwards. I kind of wish I hadn't, because there was definitely some heartbreak in there. I totally wiped from my memory the interception by Ed Reed. I don't see any angle where he was remotely arguably out of bounds on that potential lateral. And then McNair's interception on the goal line was really just insult to injury. So it was a great podcast, though. Really did a great job kind of, underscoring that game.
I appreciate you coming on, Dan, and thanks for the kind words about the other pods. I'm sure he'll love to hear it. Other folks out there, if you'd like to be on a pod and do one of these That One Play episodes, I'm still taking suggestions, and I'm still giving some suggestions online if you don't know what play you'd like to do. But in particular, I'd like any plays from prior to 2000. Just send me a DM on Twitter. I'll get right back to you. The total time is only about a week or 10 days from when you first come up with a suggestion till scheduling and we actually record. And I'm doing a lot of these in advance. So there's going to be a number of them in the queue, but your show will come out, I promise. And love to get as many people to the microphone as possible during this off season. Dan, tell folks where they can talk football with you online. I skipped that part.
Absolutely. My Twitter account is Dre, DRE 8820.
All right. Outstanding. Dan, thanks a lot for coming on.
Thank you so much, Ken.
We'll talk to you next time on Film Study.
Surgeons keep our hearts beating. They do the amazing, help save lives, and so can you. Your CSL plasma donation can help create 24 critical life-saving medicines that can give Grandpa the chance for his heart to swell when he meets his new grandson, or give a bride the chance for her heart to skip a beat on her wedding day. Every plasma donation helps more than you know. Do the amazing. Help save lives. Donate today at your local CSL Plasma Center and be rewarded for your generosity.